I'm Majora Carter, and I'm from the South Bronx, and it's in New York City, which is one of the world's richest cities, if not the. And we happen to have the title of being one of the country's poorest congressional districts in that same rich city. So, but our community has been used as a place where the pollution-based economy has made us a point source for greenhouse gas emissions because of our concentrations of waste facilities, diesel truck traffic, power generation, to name just a few. We pay the costs of the dirty economy with our quality of life, as reflected only in part by the pretty crazy public health disparities caused by living in close proximity to these kinds of things. But there are lots of places like the South Bronx all over this country of ours, places that have been used to support a quality of life traditionally denied to the people living near places like mega hog farms in North Carolina, the populated valleys alongside mountaintop removals in Appalachia, permafrost melting on Inuit lands, and the toxic sour gas and tar sand exploitation planned for those places instead. They're poor communities of all colors, but all in somebody else's backyard and therefore invisible. So we have this intersection of local and global problems that we need to fix. And my big idea is to make the invisible places visible by making them the point sources for environmental solutions. I want to see localized green industries and manufacturing flourishing first in areas that have been used as regional sacrifice zones to support the hyperconsumption that the mayor of Aspen spoke so beautifully about last night. Instead of addressing stormwater by building bigger sewage treatment plants in communities, why not develop large-scale stormwater mitigation techniques and strategies like green roofing and massive urban forestation and stewardship, instead of just transporting waste to landfills in somebody else's community? Why don't we create eco-industrial centers where the waste of one company becomes the raw material for another? Those kind of things will employ people, reduce vehicle miles traveled, clean the local as well as the global environment, and also give people hope where there wasn't any before. Investments made in the dirty economy were not made with the consent of the people most affected by their consequences. Let's invest back in the places where, by all right, we owe them for the toll that it's taken over the decades. And guess what? We will all be able to reap beautiful and lasting benefits. Thank you.
I'm Josh Dorfman. I'm from Brooklyn, so I keep environmentalism very, very real. And that's what I want to talk about for a minute here, or 2.5 minutes. What I would suggest as a big idea is that we start to reconsider the framework of how we talk about environmental action, and we start to rethink the way we communicate the idea. So rather than saying, for example, we need to solve global warming, or we need to address water issues, or we need to address all of the environmental challenges that we face so we don't die, or so that we don't have to face our grandchildren or our future grandchildren and have to deal with the question of what were you thinking when you had the opportunity. What if we were to frame things in another way, which is to say, wow, if we take environmental action, our lives can actually get so much better. We can create so much opportunity. The future can be so much better for all of us. And when I look at what's actually happening today in places where we may not expect environmental action, we think about what green really means. Outside of Atlanta, the Arabian Mountain High School is being built to, I believe, green, either gold or platinum standards. This is a new high school. And studies have shown that when kids get to learn in that kind of school, it's built green, recycled materials, better indoor air quality, better daylighting, energy efficiency. Of course, it's better for the planet. But kids in that school, all else being equal, their performance goes up 20%. That's like going from a C to an A minus, and nothing else has changed except for the fact that we've gone green, and it's improving the lives of not just those kids, but everyone else who works in that building. The same thing for hospitals. Metro Health Hospital is one of the first green-built hospitals in Grand Rapids, Michigan, built by Turner Construction. And studies find, too, that patients who get to recuperate in green hospitals, better for the environment, of course, but way better for their health. So green starts to become something that is not just doing it just simply so that we don't die, but really so that we can start to think about a future that we want. When you look at what's going on in places like Toledo, Ohio, right, the Rust Belt, where jobs went to China, they went to Mexico as the automotive industry left. Well, there's jobs coming back, and they're actually solar jobs, because next generation thin film solar panel companies are moving into Toledo because Toledo has some of the leading glass manufacturing expertise in the world. So over the last few years, 5,000 jobs have been created as companies are moving in, and it's just the beginning. And I understand there was an article yesterday in the New York Times talking about what's going on in Pennsylvania with the combination of some enlightened leadership from Governor Rendell and some really good incentives, a Spanish wind company called Gamesa has come in. Last summer they were negotiating, I believe, with former steelworkers who are out of jobs to negotiate hiring them in these new wind factories where they actually, and it's done. So there are these now union workers with good benefits, long-term economic prospects, building wind turbines, building the 21st century economy in Pennsylvania. You know, one of the things that was mentioned last night also was this notion of, you know, we have to get people to take public transit. Well, that's all well and good, but if you really want to do that, maybe you do something like what San Francisco is doing, which is putting Wi-Fi in all of their municipal buses, so people will want to get on them. But this is happening today. And so when I look at this, I think this might be a really big opportunity because, you know, we're all here. We're here to talk about the environment. You can look at studies like LOHAS, the lifestyles of health and sustainability, which some of you may be familiar with, some market research studies, or the cultural creatives, 40 or 50 some odd million Americans who want to shop their values and really affect change. And that is fantastic. But there's 300 million people in this country. So how do we reach the other 250 million people who aren't in this dialogue? And who, when we talk about the environment and we talk about we don't want to die, they just turn the TV volume up louder to try and suspend reality, right? Because that's what's happening. So there's a real opportunity to talk about real things that are happening today, to shift how we communicate so that we can expand the dialogue and expand the tent, bring more people into it, and really start to talk and think about what green can mean as a vehicle, as the, I think, really the path to a future that we all want. Thank you.